Good morning, all! The Jocelyn Gray Avatar is back with your Sunday morning announcements. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, please subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us on Zoom, drop us a hi in the chat. We'd love to say hello back. If you're with us in person, hello everybody here! And if this is your first visit, please sign the guest book either in the lobby or online at oakcliffuu.org/guest. In Unitarian Universalism, participating in covenanted community is perhaps our central spiritual practice. Renée Brill returns to the pulpit today with questions and answers about covenanting and re-covenanting. We hope you can stick around after the service for Talkback, where we gather together and discuss the sermon and related topics. Adult Religious Exploration with Sarah Rickey is back today with Owning Your Religious Past, a program designed to help you reckon with their various religious upbringings and integrate them into their current spiritual lives. Join on Zoom or in person in the Hope Library at 11:15. And since it's the first Sunday of the month, our White Accountability Group will be meeting in the Hope Common Room and online at 12:15. If you are white identifying and want to work on being a true anti-racist ally and accomplice, please join us. Then there's the worship ministry meeting at 2 p.m. Anyone who is willing to help us plan worship services or wants to see what goes into planning them is encouraged to attend. Coming up this week, every Monday, our Widening the Circle of Concern work group meets on Zoom at 7 p.m. The group has made great progress on the revised outline of material for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion workshop and look forward to sharing their work with the congregation at the fall parish meeting. Questions or concerns? Email wcoc@oakcliffuu.org. Teamwork Tuesday is on for October 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m. This week we'll begin work on preparing the trails for our Haunted Forest fundraiser at the end of the month. We recently learned from a Dallas Code compliance officer that the church is responsible for keeping the south side of an alley behind the property clear of trash. Big thanks to Johnny, Eric, Carol, Kathy, and Rita for handling the first cleanup this past week. Check out that transformation. We'll be adding periodically check the alley to the Teamwork Tuesday to-do list. This Thursday, October 5th, the Social Justice Ministry Reading Group will continue discussing Standing, One Man's Odyssey Through the Turbulent 60s by Ernest Macmillan. The group meets on Zoom at 7:30 p.m. Questions? Contact Mavis at sjm@oakcliffuu.org. Next Sunday, October 8th, longtime community activist Olinka Green will be in the pulpit with 3 obscure ways Nigeria fought for independence. And Jazz Jam returns to the sanctuary from 3 to 5 p.m. Come play, sing, or just listen. You are welcome to bring food and drink for yourself or to share. Admission is free, though there is a tip jar for the musicians. Okay, folks, one of our biggest fundraisers is coming up on October 29th, our Haunted Forest. Ooh. You can help by spreading the word, and we need volunteers to help set up and tear down the day of the event. And of course, we need ghouls, ghosts, and goblins to haunt the forest. Please contact Rita at admin@oakcliffuu.org if you can help. Details on all of this and more can be found on the back of your order of service and in the weekly e-blast. If you're not receiving the e-blast and want to, just sign up at oakcliffuu.org/e-news. That's it for now. Hope you have a great day and rest of the week.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff. Let us begin our sacred work by lighting our chalice. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, Espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, come again, love. Come, yet again, come.
Our opening words this morning come from Renée Brill, The Courage to Begin Anew. In this moment of worship, we call to mind those times of failure and regret common to us all. We remember first, in silence, those times when we have failed to do all that we meant to do, or through our actions failed to be all we were meant to be. We now recall our moments of integrity, those times we have lived into our deepest values and acted as the human beings we always dreamed of being. We choose at this moment to lay down the burden of our shortcomings and grasp the courage to begin anew. Together we affirm our capacity for goodness and grace, for freedom and purpose of joy. We are not trapped in our past, but freed by creation to live and grow today. With gratitude, we say, blessed be and amen. Amen. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another, our joys and our sorrows. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrow with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. Please share your sorrows publicly by posting them in the Zoom chat or send them to our Facebook Messenger or speak them aloud.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
We also share our joys with one another, knowing that joy comes into all of our lives, knowing that joy calls unto joy, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Please share your joys publicly by posting them to the Zoom chat or send them to our Facebook Messenger or speak them aloud. Welcome to the UU Church of Oak Cliff. Here we gather in sanctuary where we're free to pursue our own unique and individual spiritual journeys in an atmosphere of acceptance, compassion, and celebration. We seek to build a community where what you believe is less important than how your beliefs guide and inform your participation in the world. Ours is a community that values the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. To our returning visitors, we are so happy you joined us again. We know your time is precious, and we're honored to have you here today. And we would like to extend a warm welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. We recognize the bravery it took to come to a new place, and we're glad you're here. Ours is a covenantal church, Latin for come together. Covenant means a solemn agreement or promise from the heart regarding a course of action between parties. The practice of promising to walk together is the core of our faith. Simply put, it is a guide for the behavior we expect from ourselves and each other. We are bound together by the promises we make to one another, and we recite our covenant during every worship service. Please rise and bow your spirit to recite our covenant. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
Porque nos amamos uno al otro, honoramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y excepción. Así que hacemos pacto.
Hi, good morning. I would like to start this morning by inviting you to take some time of quiet for yourself, to pray or meditate, or sit still. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your eyes. Amen. This morning, I want to talk to you about covenant. It is the center, most important part of Unitarian Universalism, I think. I think everything else flows from covenanting. Our principles flow from covenanting, our chalice lighting, our meditations, our songs, all flow from covenanting. And covenanting is the promise that we make to walk together. That's the basic definition of covenanting, although there's a lot more to it than that. We talk a lot about being a covenantal as opposed to a creedal faith. In a creedal faith, you join the church or you join the group because you believe the same things. And if you don't believe the same things, you don't belong. Or because you practice the same things. And if you don't practice the same things, you don't belong. In a covenantal faith, you belong. You belong so long as you promise to walk together and to join into the covenant. Now, each individual congregation in Unitarian Universalism can write their own covenant, and they're encouraged to do so, although there are some traditional covenants that are popular from Unitarian Universalism. It is also a practice that we do a lot when we go on retreats together. So if you go to one of the women's retreats or a youth retreat or to General Assembly, there are different groups that will write their own covenant for that particular retreat or for a particular workshop. There's also a practice of different trainings and religious education groups writing their own covenant. Our covenant, I think I've said so many times that I have it memorized both in English and in Spanish. And it feels comforting. It feels familiar. But this last couple of months, as your board has been training and learning what our roles are, and using resources provided to us by Southern Region, we had the opportunity to listen to our Southern Region talk about covenant, and it surprised me. Some things surprised me. And I think that the biggest idea that surprised me was the idea of what happens if you break covenant, should be a part of the covenant. So we're writing our agreements into our covenant together. In our covenant, we talk about to treating each other with respect, to serving the world and our community together, to encouraging each other. There are covenants that are a little bit more businesslike, of we promise to start on time, or we promise to call out more than an hour ahead, or we promise to attend so many meetings, or we promise to avoid crosstalk. And the act of creating a covenant is a really excellent spiritual exercise. Our board, your board, recently finished creating a covenant for itself for this year, and I found the process to be deeply meaningful. Because to make a promise to one another, you have to sit and deeply listen to each other and to share deeply with one another. To share what's most important to you, what hurts you, and what you need for healing. For people who aren't familiar with what it's like to be in a covenant, the most common thing that it's compared to, or the most common covenant, is the covenant of marriage. So it's a covenant of living each other, building a life together. right? That is very similar. There's some other boundaries that are not similar, but that practice of building a life together and building a life in keeping with your values. There might be a promise to care for children, or a promise to not have children, and a promise to care for one another, or for your neighborhood, or for your corner of the world. It is a transformative and powerful spiritual practice. It's not just a matter of making a promise and then either breaking it or keeping it. Or it's not a matter of repeating it again and again, although we do like to do that to remind ourselves of what we're doing. I feel like sometimes it's a promise to practice bringing my best self to a space in the hope that that best self might become my authentic self. But it's also should have space for my authentic self, right? For the me that gets angry sometimes, and the me that is sad, or the me that gets sick, or the me that is distractible or silly or time blind, right? That my humanness needs to be allowed to be present. But it's very much a practice of thinking about how you want your relationship to be with the other congregants, with your community, with yourself and your family. I found a really beautiful description of covenant from Victoria Safford, who wrote in the UU World. At the end of her article, she says, "When we welcome babies in our church, we welcome new members into our community. When we welcome the love of beaming couples, when we ordain new ministers, we speak not in the binding language of contract, but in the life-sustaining fluency of covenant, from convivere, to travel together. We will walk together with you, child. We will walk together with you, friend. We will walk together with each other towards the lives we mean to lead, toward the world we mean to have a hand in shaping, the world of compassion, equity, freedom, joy, and gratitude. Covenant is the work of an intimate justice." That very much feels like the life of living in covenant, that idea that we're working together, we're walking together, sometimes not even doing anything, but being together, and trying to move towards who we want to be, who we want our world to be, how we want our lives to be. And in having that support of the community, of being a part of community, we find that that is more possible. That practice of being together, of listening deeply to one another, is joyful. It's transformative. It's humbling to be with other people who are so amazing. It's inspiring. I would say, part of the way that it's humbling is that you don't get your way all the time, right? There's you learn the practices of compromise, of peacemaking, of discernment, which is a really profound skill, trying to find what is true or what is best or what is most important, and trying to decide how to organize and change and grow and live full, bright, vibrant lives together. So there's the words of covenant, the things that we promise to each other, but that foundation is the practice of being together, committing to making decisions together, to acting together, and all of the spiritual practices and skills that come along with that, like compromise, like deep listening, like deep sharing, like deep hope. And that spiritual practice is profoundly transformative. It is the essence of why I'm a Unitarian Universalist. When I first came to this church more than 12 years ago, it's what I was looking for when I went looking for a faith home. I had all of these values, and I wasn't living them in my world. It felt like there wasn't space for my humanness in my commute to and from work, and TV watching, and it just didn't feel like my life, my daily living was filled with my values and who I wanted to be. And I thought that it would be easier to live and become the person I wanted to be if I was doing that work with other people. And I think that it has been. I think it's been profoundly transformative. So much of my life would be very different if I hadn't followed the call of Unitarian Universalism and the call of hope that that the world can be as it should be, that the world can become a place of beloved community. That is the hope, the saving almost message of Unitarian Universalism, is that when we promise to walk together, it gives us the skills we need to change the world and to make it a place of justice and equity and compassion for all. Now, our covenant mostly was written before I joined the church 12 years ago. And there is a saying, or a truism, a uncomfortable truism, that covenants need to be alive. They need to be alive for the people who are in the room right now, for the people who are in the sacred space right now. And it is such a profound and deep spiritual exercise that it's encouraged for us to do covenanting and recovenanting often, to practice writing a covenant together. And that practice involves a lot of listening and a lot of sharing. Our board went about this practice in a way that was suggested by Southern Region that I found very profound and had me thinking about covenant in a totally new way. When I first heard the idea that our covenant should include what happens when we break it and how we mend covenant, I couldn't imagine how that would work in a way that didn't feel like punishment, right? Or like finger wagging, or I don't know. I just felt a lot of friction and a lot of prickliness there of like somebody else is going to tell me that this is what I need when I've made a mistake, or give me Unitarian Universalist demerits or something like that. I just, it's hard to imagine in a world where so much of the way we do justice is fundamentally unjust. I was really having a hard time wrapping my head around that. And what the Southern region invited us to do is to think about what we need individually when we make a mistake, when we are the ones who break covenant. So not prescribe to someone who's hurt you, but to prescribe to yourself when you've made the mistake. And that was really transformative to me, because I couldn't imagine myself writing a prescription for somebody else that didn't feel fundamentally constrictive and unjust, right? But I felt really comfortable writing for myself. Like, what do I need to make space to apologize, to be ready to hear critique, to be ready to live out a new solution and a new way of being. Writing what I need when I make a mistake, that was really in some ways liberating, right? Like, this is what I wish could have happened when I broke the rules at school, right? Or when I made a mistake, or when I got into a fight with my sisters. That it was just really liberating. I'd like to share with you a couple of things. One, yes, I am suggesting that it's time for us to rewrite our covenant. It's suggested that we do it every 5 years, or at least revisit it every 5 years. And I don't know that we've done it in 12 years. And I don't know when it was redone before that. And I think right now, while we're in a place of healing and rebuilding and reimagining and dreaming of who we're going to be, and building the framework for who we're going to be, I think this is a profound opportunity for us to do the work of covenanting and to invite new people into the work of that covenanting who maybe haven't gotten the opportunity to do that before. So I also want to share the covenant that your board created. It feels really authentic and interesting. We'll see how it goes after this year and how it works. But I feel the work of doing it together was very connecting and deeply meaningful. So here is our board covenant. We covenant to show one another respect by listening deeply and avoiding crosstalk, to honor different perspectives, to bring our authentic selves, to communicate with openness and honesty, to live out and be guided by our principles, including the 8th principle, to remain in communication when we break covenant, to give each other space and time when we are in conflict. And we agreed that about 72 hours is a useful place to start. To work towards resolution on a timetable set by the harmed party. And to work faithfully to build the beloved community. The UUA Leader Lab has the following questions that I would like to take into talkback today to start dreaming of what a new covenant might be. They ask, what does beloved community feel like in practice? How do we want our members, friends, visitors to feel when they encounter our congregation? How do we live our values, starting with one another? And once we've answered these questions, what do we need to promise to one another in order to make that kind of community? I want to end with repeating what Victoria Safford says about covenant. We will walk together with you, child. We will walk together with you, friend. We will walk together with each other towards the lives we mean to lead, toward the world we mean to have a hand in shaping, the world of compassion, equity, freedom, joy, and gratitude. Covenant is the work of intimate justice. Where will you go with me, and where will we go together? Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
This covenant is not 12 or 14 or 15 years old. This covenant is a couple of years old. This covenant is the Widening the Circle of Concern covenant that we created to help us continue on our anti-racist, anti-oppressive journey. And if you would care to join me now in reciting it, the words will appear on the screen as well as being printed in your program. We, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff, commit ourselves to the study and dismantling of racism and oppression within our congregation. We commit our congregation and ourselves to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. We commit ourselves to listening, to learning, and to action. When we fail, we commit ourselves to trying again and again. We covenant to begin this work and to continue until all of us can truly say that we are a beloved community of justice, equity, and compassion. Amen. Our reading this morning is also from Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt. It's from her essay, Our Faith, which was published in the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide. We have a few copies around, and we may be looking into getting some more. It has some wonderful readings and summations of core principles. And Reverend McNatt is an outstanding leader in our faith. She is the president of Star King Seminary and has a whole host of accomplishments under her belt as well. So this is an excerpt from her essay, Our Faith. This essential work of justice and liberation for all. By no means are we, Unitarian Universalists, perfect. We often fail as much as we succeed. Yet even when we have broken our vows 1,000 times, we return to this essential work of justice and liberation for all. We do the work best when we remember what church is and what it is not. Church is not a place to hide. It is not the place to get away from the world. It is not a place where we get to pretend that the lives we live and our particular situations are not terribly complex, often confusing, and sometimes depressing. Church is the place where we stand with one another, look the world in the eye, attempt to see clearly, and gather strength to face what we see with courage, and yes, with joy. Thank you.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place that is so sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. Members, if you're donating cash towards your pledge, use the envelope, put your name on it so you get credit. You can text your donation to the number that's on your order of service, or you can go to oakcliffuu.org/donate.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
Our closing words come from Melissa Jeter, Changed and Held in Love. We are grateful to be in the presence of one another. We are grateful for the affirmation that being together in this community brings. Let us have hearts open with humility. Let us find our way mindful that there is abundance from which we can draw water, the peace of all peace that comes not without struggle or wrestling with the ways of scarcity and individualism in the world. Let us find ways to disrupt injustice. Let us find ways to accept one another while preserving our hearts. Let us go beyond thinking and suspend all judgment. May we be changed and held in love. May we recognize and receive grace, for none of us alone has the answer. So be it.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We extinguish our chalice, and we have a special reading today by Krista Tavis called The Work We Share. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us to gather in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be.